Patty?
They never wanted to.
One part is still not there.
The older, the guy here supposed to
We just have an email that's still
externally
Fair and all that stuff.
Yeah.
These names that open, there's not
They're
enough.
more active than you
You
are.
know, you send an email.
You're late.
Yeah, that's a busy.
Good evening and welcome to the council meeting for September 8th, 2015. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Hildebrand,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Markham.
Here.
Fowler,
Present.
Fernsler,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Sedlacek,
Here.
Hanson.
Present.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next item is the pledge. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is the approval of the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
So move, Alder Nelson.
Second, Alder Markham.
We have a first and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Williams,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Hildebrand, Hanson,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is the audience portion where we ask citizens to sign in and be recognized by the chair. This is where you get to do the talking and we do the listening. And tonight, we have one person that signed up. Martha Roche is here, so come forward and tell us what's on your mind, please.
All right, I just thought I would give the council an update of some of the activities that are going on for our 100-year anniversary at the library. The big thing that's coming up in October is One Book, One Community, Join In. What we're doing is book discussions all over the city of Plymouth. And everybody's reading one book, and this year it's Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee, who you've probably read about. This is the first book that she wrote, and it wasn't published, so they made her do it over, and that's how we got To Kill a Mockingbird. But she actually wrote this one first, but this one takes place 20 years after the incidents in To Kill a Mockingbird. So, so the community is reading this year. We hope that this One Book, One Community starts to be an annual event, but we decided to kick it off this year. Catherine Murray at Community Ed and I have been working for over a year with planning this and getting it going, and you all should have a flyer which gives you on the back the schedule of events that we're looking at. For this year, there's different book discussions on different topics going on in the library. Those of you who like 52 Stafford, there will be something there. There will also be at Provino and the Plymouth Brewing Company, as well as Generations and at the library, and a couple of events also at Riverview and the high school. So we've started out with a steering committee and been working on putting this all together with the publicity, and we have some of the teachers or former teachers at the high school who are doing some of the book discussions, as well as some of the library staff will be doing that. We're screening To Kill a Mockingbird to start it all out on October 13th at the auditorium at the high school, and then we'll finish up with a panel discussion on November 10th at the high school also, which will have a panel of Lakeland College professors, as well as some of the historians in the city. And so we've worked very hard. You'll see some of these yard signs all over Plymouth because we're posting them all over. This one will be going at City Hall, so I don't have to take back with me. But please come, and the books are available at the library, at Bookheads. There's some at Generations. There's also some at Community Ed that you can go pick up and download it on your Kindle even if you want to. Read the book and then join in as many activities as you'd like to. We've had a lot of very positive feedback already just getting the word out in the last week or two. So I think that it'll be a real good time for the community to come together at different events and talk about one particular book, and we'll see how it goes, and that'll happen. If you want more information, we've set up a website that's listed on the bottom of the front of this flyer, specifically for updates and changes if there are any in locations or times of some of the events. So you can check that out, and that website will give you all the information that you need to know. And you can also find it on the district and the library's Facebook as far as some of the information, but the website is gonna be the thing that we're focusing on to keep people up to date with it. So it should be an exciting thing, and we are going with the theme, as you can read on the front, that the idea is that the city that opens the same book closes it in greater harmony, and we truly believe that, and so that's what we're striving for as we plan these events. So join us in all or any. Come and join.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. A nice community project. Moving on, item 5, proclamation for POW MIA Recognition Week, September 18th to the 25th, 2015. I'll ask the clerk to read the proclamation, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Whereas, since its founding, the United States has fought in numerous wars and military actions, and tens of thousands of Americans, including a great many from Wisconsin, who were captured or were missing in action, and whereas many American prisoners of war were subjected to brutal and inhumane treatment by their enemy captors in violation of international codes and customs for the treatment of prisoners of war, and many such prisoners of war died while in captivity. And whereas the people of the city of Plymouth recognize that its sacrifices of all American prisoners of war and those who are still missing in action and their families are deserving of special tribute, now therefore be it resolved that Donald O. Pullman, Mayor of the City of Plymouth, hereby proclaims the week of September 18th through September 25th, 2015 as POW MIA Recognition Week in the City of Plymouth, and calls upon all citizens of our city to join with him in observing this week with appropriate remembrance and activities.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the proclamation as read.
So moved, Alder Williams. Second, Hildebrand.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Tonight we have with us our MIA POW Chairman, Jim Riesenberg, who has a comment for us. Jim?
Definitely. How many minutes do I have?
30 seconds.
The water bottle gets me, I leave, huh?
Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Pullman and members of the council for allowing us to express our views and share opinions on what we think is a rather important part of our government responsibility, that is accounting for the unaccounted for. The agency in the government that is charged with that got a new name and a new leadership in March of this year. DPMO and JPAC are now DPAA,
Easy
Defense
for you
Prisoner
to
of
say.
War Missing in Action Accounting Agency. They have new leadership. They've revised polished up their act a little bit on the things that they are going to accept responsibility for, and hopefully things will continue in a positive direction. In calendar year 2014, 117 remains were recovered. Of those, 74 were positively identified and returned to their families and loved ones for a degree of closure and also for a final resting place fitting with their commensurate with the level of their service and their sacrifice. So far this year, they have recovered and positively identified 45 sets of remains. A lot of things are going on. The search, Operation Market Garden was 70 years old last year. Members of the team did visit in the Netherlands and Germany. They did find some German fighters, some American fighters, and a very cooperative group of local historians who are working with them. Unfortunately, crash sites. If you were a village elder in 1942, well, you're probably really an elder by this time. So it's presenting a challenge and wherever they go, but they're doing the best they can. Another positive thing came out this year. The USS Oklahoma was a victim of one of Japan's shenanigans in the Pacific at Pearl Harbor. They have recovered and positively identified 388 sets of remains. They were interred in 3 grave sites, 3 common graves at the Cemetery of the Pacific, and they will now begin the arduous task of finding out where the next of kin may be located. I would kind of hope that with the one book, one community thing, that you would find one book to read about the prisoner of war missing in action stories, or get a good audio-visual presentation, either from the library or off the internet. Lord knows there's probably 7 million of them out there someplace. But if you're going to go with the audio-visual presentation, I would stay away from the John Wayne, Rita Hayworth, and the Hollywood glitz, and go for something that's put out by the Department of Defense, because there's a pretty good chance you'll get the first-person story exactly as it happened. Over the years, I've accumulated a small library, and I think probably one of the most interesting, and if you can get your hands on the January 27, 2003 issue of Sports Illustrated, I know it's out there somewhere. I have mine, and mine's not leaving my site. But it is an interesting story. A gentleman by the name of Mats Tonelli, class of 39 at University of Notre Dame. And I won't tell you how it ends, but it's really interesting. The Japanese officer that was in the stands when Notre Dame beat Southern Cal in a football game, and it all evolves around his Notre Dame class ring. There are also, it's never mentioned very often, and I apologize for not mentioning it before. Most of the focus and all the things that I've been talking about until last year, nothing was made mention of women, female prisoners of war. When the Japanese started raising hell in the Pacific, there were most of, you have to keep in mind back then, most of the American medical personnel in the Pacific area were American doctors, nurses, orderlies, and hospital aides, and things like that. When they took over the island of Guam, there were 5 nurses in the hospital, the medical facility there. They were shipped to Manila. In the area of Manila, there were 5 medical facilities. The island of Corregidor, which went down a month after Bataan in May of 1942, was staffed by American military personnel, nurses, aides, orderlies, and things like that. And there are a couple of books out there. All This Hell and We Band of Angels, both written, first person written about the things that these women and their counterparts went through in their trials and tribulations of spending time in the South Pacific. So far as the actual number of casualties, it is in excess of 83,000 total, 73,000 of those from World War II. If you take a look at some of the casualty sources, kind of interesting figures, 75% of those 83,000, or roughly 41,000 of those casualties from World War II, were in the South Pacific. And if you remember the Guadalcanal and New Guinea and the island of Leyte and all the things that went out there, and some of those horrendous sea battles that took place. You find a ship like a small destroyer may have 125 or 30 troops on it. The larger ships had greater numbers. So, and these men, all 41,000, are pretty much committed to the Davy Jones locker, and they're there and resting in their final resting place, and they'll be there forever, and they will not be disturbed. For the rest of us, well, it probably will have to depend on the strength and direction of your religious convictions. That is to say, closure will come when you have the grand reunion with the Maker in the land beyond the sunset. That's my presentation. Again, we're Friday morning, the 18th, out here at City Hall. Hope to see you there. If you're not there, we hope you're on the job someplace doing what you're hired and getting paid to do. Again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate the information and the dedication to POW MIA recognition. Moving on, item 6 is not needed. No items were removed from the consent agenda. Item 7, committee reports and actions. Item A, Finance and Personnel Recommendation from meeting of August 25, 2015, discussion and approval of donation of leave policy, and I'll call on Administrator Yurgis to give us a summary on that, and then the chair will entertain a motion. Administrator Yurgis.
Sure. This question has come up twice in the 5 years I've been here, and that is, can employees donate vacation and/or sick time to other employees in certain circumstances? And the cases where this comes up is one, maybe a newer employee that doesn't have much sick leave, then for whatever reason has a personal illness situation which precludes them from being able to work. They don't have much sick time, again, built up or vacation, and obviously we don't offer a long-term disability policy. Can employees donate to people in that circumstance? On the other end, it could be a more seasoned employee that's been here for 20 years or a long term, and maybe has a very severe critical medical situation and has run out of their sick leave and or vacation benefit. And the question is can other employees donate time to those individuals? And so what the Finance and Personnel Committee did was we talked about this at 2 or 3 meetings and decided to establish a formal or recommend a formal leave policy that is attached to the memo. Basically, the maximum amount of leave an employee may donate annually is 10 vacation days and 10 sick leave days for a total of 20 days annually. The amount of leave any one employee may receive through donations would be limited to 60 days annually. And then on page 2 of that policy, there's some other policy provisions. For example, this applies only to the employee themselves. If they were in a serious medical condition, they could receive donated time, so this would not apply to maybe a spouse or a dependent. Donated leave would be accrued and used on an hourly basis, and it would be paid out at the rate of the employee that is taking the leave. In addition, the recipient employee, while using donated leave, would not earn additional vacation and or sick leave if they're using donated time. And then also, another thing to point out is employees who have received donated leave time from other employees shall not be entitled to any payout of unused leave upon termination equal to the amount of donated time the employee received. So that would be something that would be tracked over time and subtracted from any payout. There's a formal procedure process which would include a donation request form which could be filled out by the employee or maybe the spouse. And then there's actually a donation approval form, or there's actually a donation form that the employee would fill out and submit. And then there's the option of letting that employee know that you donated time, or they could make an anonymous donation as well. So again, what the policy does is establishes a formal donation of leave policy, which currently does not exist. So I guess I would turn it over to the mayor and or finance chair for discussion purposes.
Thank you, Administrator Yurgis. The chair will recognize the finance chair, Sean Markham, to make a motion so we can discuss.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the donation of leave policy as drafted.
Second that. Second.
We have a first and a second to approve the donation of leave policy as presented. Any further questions or discussion? Alderman Hanson.
I'm looking for item B4, and Administrator Yurgis mentioned upon that. How does one track that? Or I would imagine it's not going to be just too many people be in that particular situation, but does that mean that if a person has 10 days donated to them and they have 11 days left at the end of their time, they'll get 1 day paid for? Is that how that works, or? Am I not?
You mean upon employment separation?
Correct. So if I retire and I have 11 days that I've accumulated in my
And you-
process, and
and
I
you-
was donated 10 days to me, do I get paid
Correct.
1 day?
Correct,
Okay.
Yep.
that would be correct.
Any other questions? As Administrator Yurgis indicated, this was gone through at the Finance Committee several times for a lot of good discussion and little tiny tweaks to bring it into, I think, what is presented as a very good, simple plan without a lot of complications. Administrator Yurgis?
And that, just so Council President Hanson is clear, that policy provision came from a sample from, I believe it was McGuanago.
Mr. Mayor.
We were looking at
Alderman
sample.
Markham?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. We did spend a lot of time talking about this, and I think it was on our agenda for several meetings, although we may not have gotten to it every time. I think it's well thought out, and Administrator Yurgis certainly brought a policy forward that I think just needed some, minor discussion points, but very good thoughts. So I thank him for bringing that forward, and I think we do have a good policy that makes sense for our employees.
Any other questions? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Markham.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Fernsler. Nelson.
Yes.
Williams.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on, item 8, new business, discussion and approval of property insurance quote from the municipal property insurance company and withdrawal from the local government property insurance fund. Again, I'll ask Administrator Yurgis to give us a summary, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Sure. Part of the last state budget include closing the local government property insurance fund, which we're currently a member of. And the actual state budget actually was adopted without closing it. However, due to the financial status of the fund, they passed on substantial premium increases onto all of the members. And one of the reasons why they chose not to close the fund, even though that there was substantial increases to premiums related to some school districts that had limited options to go out and get insurance. And actually some school districts, even with the large premium increases, still benefit from participating in the local government property insurance fund. However, thankfully for the city of Plymouth, there is another option, and the Cities Villages Mutual Insurance Corporation, which we are a member equity owner, joined with the League of Municipalities as well as the Counties Association to create a new organization named the Municipal Property Insurance Company, or MPIC. Not a real creative name there, is it? Is it? But in any case, that is meant to duplicate the purpose of the local government property insurance pool and offer a similar rate. If you look in the packet, the premium, the primary premium we're looking at is for the property insurance, which under this policy, under MPIC, is about $30,000, which is split between the city and the utilities. The city contribution would be just under $15,000 or $14,554,000. Ironically, we put the budget together assuming it would cost the city $15,000. So ironically, it's right where we thought it would be. I believe previously, before the large increase, we were at $11,000 or $12,000 roughly. Before the large premium increase. If you follow behind that page, you'll see that the local government property insurance fund, again, that's the state pool, that increased to about $52,000. So quite a basically $22,000 more it would cost us if we stayed with the local government. Obviously, we want to look at joining the MPIC. However, what we also did is we got a quote from a local insurance agent, and their annual premium, the first time around, it was $50-some thousand. We then shared with them what local government was charging. They came back and was able to provide a premium for about $45,000. Still significantly more expensive than the MPIC. The only difference, the biggest difference to point out really is that the deductible is a lower amount in the through the insurance agent. The deductible is much smaller. For example, it's a 90% co-insurance subject to $10,000 deductible. On this program, our deductible is still $15,000. So we do have a higher deductible, but if you look at our past claim history, we've rarely had claims that have where we've paid out a lot of deductibles on related to property insurance. So given our claim history and the cost, the recommendation is to join the MPIC. And again, CIVMIC is a partner in this. They put up 1/3 of the reserve funds. The league put up 1/3 of the reserve funds, and of course the county association put 1/3 of the reserve funds to help establish this property insurance fund. In the long term, they're going to want to grow this program in a sustainable way, but they'll have the same objective CIVMIC has, which is low premiums and stable rate changes, not artificially low premiums to get the fund in trouble, but stable premiums and smaller market rate increases, but keep the fund healthy. So I have no doubt that this program will serve our needs well. Questions for staff or?
So your recommendation therefore is to be in the MPIC.
And with formally acknowledge that we're withdrawing from local government property insurance fund, which there's a form in the packet. We would have the city clerk treasurer complete that form, but it's a one-page form
Correct.
in the packet, which is their required template. And just so
Okay.
you know, we did pay we'll get a credit back from local government because we did pay the premium already because that renews July 1. And originally it was thought that the MPIC couldn't offer policies until October 1st. So we can start insurance with MPIC tomorrow if we want, but it's a matter of just getting the paperwork finalized and in the right place.
Okay, good. The chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve joining the MPIC and withdrawing from the local government property insurance fund.
Second, Alder Hanson.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Williams,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. One question.
Yeah,
Administrator
one
Yurgis.
comment, Mr. Mayor, just so everyone know, the ASU group is the first, I guess, I don't know what the right term is, I guess the servicing administrator of the state program. They're also the administrator of the MPIC, so all of our information easily will transfer over. And then just a second point is the Houston Water Tower, that is still under the state local government program. And even though we're leaving that program, that doesn't jeopardize that claim. That claim is out there, and we have up to 2 years to decide whether we're rebuilding or want to take a depreciated cash payment out. So just so everyone is aware of how that's going to end up working, is that that'll stay with the state program.
Good comment. Thank you. Moving on, item 9, the chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute